Our last panelist is the distinguished founder of the Gulf Research Center, Saudi Abdulaziz Sager, who has also been a great interlocutor about the Arab world, the Saudi world, and I'm curious what you have to say to us since you're from the region, but I'm also very curious if you could talk a bit about relations with the United States and how they've turned. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. First, let me extend my deepest appreciation to my good friend Terry and to the World Policy Conference for all the effort they put, and for the host country. I mean, this is great to see a lot of good friends and old faces together here. We understand what does it take to bring all this effort together because we are in the same. Okay, let me start by saying what are the key concerns, and the key pillars, in my opinion, that it is important. First, the U.S. relation to the region. And we see a softness approach, a confusing approach from the U.S. We don't know what they are up to. We have a different signal, confusing signal. On one hand, they said we are reallocating of our forces. On the other hand, we are reducing our forces in the region. On the other hand, you can hear a statement by saying we remain committed to the security of the region, but what is the reality, we don't know. So there is a lot of confusing signal, unpredictable coming out of Washington there that really has an impact on the geopolitics of the region. Traditionally, we understood their commitment, and traditionally we understood where does the US and the rest of the West country stand when it comes to the regional security. Now, it's a bit confusing, honestly, and that confusion, forces the region to take different action, different play toward the other. Second, because of the confusion of the US policy, when President Obama said in Syria is a red line, we will not allow, all of a sudden we have the Russian re-existent in the region. And the Russian re-existent in the region was due to the American unclarity of policy. They allowed that sort of intervention to happen. Where do we stand on the Ukrainian cases? I will come into that, but I think I will pass this one because I want to focus it in the key element. The third, of course, is the Iranian expansionist. And today we are still suffering from this real serious threat, from Iran. We still have the maritime security issue. We still have the energy security issue threatened from Iran, interventionist policy, expansionist, using sectarianism as a dimension, supporting militia. All of those issues remain as a key issue for us in the region. So where does the Iranian threat goes from here? That also have a very critical impact in our geopolitical issue. The Abraham Accord. Some Arab countries, including United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, based in their own national interest, they felt going and signing into the Abraham Accord and normalizing relation will bring a better peace to the region. Some countries in the region thought they need peace first before normalization. Some countries, they are negotiating quite secretly. So that is a sovereign state decision, but at the same time, this is a new element in the geopolitical side of the region. So the other thing, we have a conflicting issues, and we have a hot spot in the region, including war in Yemen, Syria, Libya, also the Israeli-Iranian vessels attack in each other. But at the same time, that did not change the geopolitics of the region. When people talked about the Syrian crisis, they thought Jordan will be taking over next day, but Jordan remains still there. Syria is still there. Turkish intervention on the north part of Syria is still there. We have the Iranian intervention in Kurdistan is still there, but that did not really change the whole geopolitical structure there. But that also is an important element in the geopolitics, to look at all these conflicts, all these issues that is taking place. What is interesting also to see that the region start making their own sovereign decision without really waiting for the instruction coming from the big country, from the superpower. And I think that's a very clear signal. You can see it in UAE, in Saudi Arabia. You can see it in Egypt, in Algeria, and many countries in the Arab world start saying, look, we need to protect our interests. We need to fight based on our interests, and we need to look at that one. So this is also an important dimension. Is that going to, since we are witnessing now a new Cold War era, is that independent decision and sovereign decision and so going to be challenged by the extreme two power? Well, in other words, our economy, 67% of our export goes to Asia. China is the largest importer from us. So, and China, the president visited recently to the region, he is making a statement saying we are the second largest economy. We would like to legitimize our economic relation by a political visit and by a political umbrella. And the US is concerned. If you read today the Washington Post, there is a concern in the US about the China-Gulf relation. I think it's legitimate concern, but at the same time, still it is an economic relation. It have not yet developed to a strong political ties or a strategic ties. China will not replace the US in the region, and China cannot provide the security that the region want or looking for at that area. Right. So, but that also, because of the Cold War era syndrome or feeling that we have, that will put a pressure in the region. Where do you go, east or west? Whom should you listen to? You know, each one can exercise different pressure. They are a buyer of 3.6 million barrels a day from the region. So they are, Saudi Arabia, almost 20% of their export goes to China. Yes. Also the crisis on Ukraine. We were forced by the US to take a decision. I think there was misinterpretation of our balance. And I like yesterday when Dr. Anwar Gergash, he used the word not neutral, but balance. And balance today, Israel is having a balanced position on the Ukrainian crisis. India, they have a balanced position. We in the Arab world have a balanced position. First, we are not compromising the unity of Ukraine, and that has been stated by all the four ministers. We're not accepting any intervention by using a military means. We're not accepting a territorial intervention or so. But at the same time, we have a similar case in Yemen where we understand the Russian concern. And the Russian concern comes from three things. They want a friendly government to deal with. They want to have a safe border that will not represent a threat to them. And they don't want to have a foreign military presence that can represent a threat. In Yemen, we have a similar case. We want to have a friendly government that we deal with, and we don't want to have a foreign military presence from Iran in our border that threat us and represent a threat to us. And also we want to have a safe border, also we share with them a huge one. Now, if I look at, just the last comment, okay. If I look at the 2023, I think there will be a similar issue still of concern to us. Number one, can we still keep our sovereign independency decision from the superpower? Can we really still state our position based on our interests, or that will be challenged? That will be a key issue also in the 2023. Can we continue in that? Iran and what will happen to JCPOA? We have a different scenario today. No agreement, status quo, modified agreement with minor changes, modified agreement with the major changes. All new agreement can be reestablished, and that one we don't know. So that remains a big challenge. Sure. And how Iran is going to act in terms of representing a threat, are they going to retaliate in the region, and how that is going to be?
Well, I could ask you many, many questions, but let me just limit myself right now to, do you think the disorder in Iran makes it more dangerous for the region, or does it work to keep them concentrated at home?
I personally belong to Hobbs School in IR, so I believe in a central government role will be far better than having a fragmented government, because we saw that in Lebanon and the outcome. But also, if I go back to my 2023, I think oil prices will be very important. What will happen to the oil prices? You see, because again, the region have a lot of important projects and a lot of expansion and development on the Tanmiyah, what we call development. How is that going to be? And that will play also a price. Yemen, we're almost entering the 9th year. And what will happen? I think we are happy to have a settlement in Yemen, but based on two things: no interventionist from Iran in that one, based on the decision of the Yemeni people and the agreement that can take place. I think all of that really still represent, the sort of challenge, to us in the region. But again, I'll go back and start from where I start. The U.S. relation is a key issue in this one here.
Yes.
We're not saying we need to replace it. We're not saying we have a ready alternative for that, and we are not saying we don't want it. In fact, it's a very important, very crucial. We have enjoyed almost a century of a good relation here in the region. What we want to have a more sensible approach in Washington when looking at the region here and respecting the
Yes, well,
issues.
great, because I mean,
Thank you, sir.
we've had different words for Washington, which we need a more educated policy, we need a wiser policy, we need more attention. But clearly the region is sending messages to Washington also, as Saudi Arabia is. The visit of Jiang Zemin is a message.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very clear message to a very sensitive point now in Americans' view of the world.
Let me answer by two things. I think in January 2021, when we had the GCC summit in Al-Ula, I think it was clearly stated that we resolve a lot of the dispute differences that have occurred between the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar. And I'm so happy as a Gulf citizen to see the relation is back to normal, even better. The last week we've witnessed the visit of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed to Qatar. We have seen, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, being in Qatar for the World Cup, for the, opening ceremony. So that's also make us feel what brings us together more than the different. Now, in terms of regional security, there are several initiatives, which include the US MESA, which include the Russian. MESA was rejected by the Iranian because they felt it was against them. The Russian was rejected by the American. Russia initiative was rejected by the American. The Iranian was rejected by the region because the Iranian initiative, although it's based in non-intervention, non-aggression, but they don't want to ignore the past and just deal from today and on. They don't want to deal with Hezbollah, with the interventionists in Syria. And by the way, in Syria, because of the Israeli military attack on the Iranian presence in Syria, that have reduced the Iranian capability since the beginning to almost 20% today. They don't talk about it, the Israeli, neither the Iranian they talk about it, but it is reality on the ground. And the Russian are providing clear rules of engagement in terms of military action from the Israeli against the Iranian presence in Syria. Now, we understand from a national security point of view the Turkish interest in North Syria, because in no way we will support a separatist group like the PKK, because we have also a serious situation here in the region if we do so. But we hope that will end soon and the Turk will just try to finish it as fast as possible. On the other initiative also, we have the Chinese now coming up with an initiative. But still that Chinese initiative, we're not so sure that it works. So we have the American, the Russian, the Iranian, the Chinese, and the European. But the European focus on maritime security. What we need in any initiative in the region, three preconditions. Inclusiveness, so we need to include Israel, Iran, Turkey. We cannot exclude any one of these three. Second, we need to have the guarantor. First, we need to resolve the current problem in the region. We can't go into a security architecture in the region and we have the militia supported by Russia in Libya, and we have the militia in Iraq supported by the Iranians. So we need to resolve current problem in the region, and then we need to have the guarantor. And the guarantor cannot be only the UN. So we need the Security Council plus the UN, and find the right formula of the sort of guarantor that can be provided to have a better security architecture. But by the way, look at the different. We called the Jeddah summit, which was attended by President Biden, development and security. Here, we did not call it security with the Chinese. We called it development and sustainability. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And if I may,